So Tiffany has been instrumental in starting our Huron Valley Environmental Council, along with some of our very loved members. Jeff and Lori Gardner are on that. Holly's been really involved with that. So she's going to share the amazing resource they've developed for us in our community.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for having us out today to talk about the Environmental Council of Huron Valley. It's all very exciting. Want to talk to you about a little bit about what we've done and see if that's something that speaks to you and maybe how you can get involved. So as mentioned, we'll talk a little bit about us and talk about areas of focus for us, our priorities, work that we have done to date, and then of course about taking action. So what you can do to take action if you're interested, and then we also have 5 steps to sustainable New Year. So something to get you started. So just a little bit of background. This is a really cool community story. So on the right side of the picture are myself and Deidre, and we have been friends for a few years. All 5 of us are residents of Milford. And we had talked, environment is always something we've been very passionate about. So we're like, how can we start something in Huron Valley? And we tried a couple routes and got a little resistance, so kind of tabled it for a little while, and I've been very active in the Brighton Environmental Council, so focused efforts there. And then we had an event in September, a climate action event in Brighton, and that's where I met Jeff, Lori, and Holly. And they came up and said, we'd like to do something like you're doing here, but we're residents of Milford, we want to do it there. And I'm like, I'm a resident of Milford, I would love to do it. And then the next week we had our first meeting, and here we are a few short months later, and we're very excited to share all of the momentum, the great things we've accomplished, and again, just the emphasis on the community piece of it. When you look at something like climate change, which is a big and daunting task, it can be overwhelming and very doom and gloom. So it's one thing, when you're one person, you can absolutely make a difference, but when you rally together as a community and you see all that can be done, it's very exciting. So we are a non-political group that is dedicated to the greening of our community. We are all volunteers as well. So I'm going to talk through a lot of things today. This is, of course, stuff pie in the sky, what we would love to accomplish in the short term, but it's and we can only do as much as we have help to execute. So if there's something that's speaking to you or something that you don't see on the list, let us know, and we'll find a spot. So when we first came together in the beginning of October, we all sat down and just really kind of went around the table and talked about why we're here. So what is the really, kind of driving thing for the environmental within each of us, and what do we want to see happen within our community? So that makes it very simple, which actually was a lot of work, and thank you for Holly for your wordsmithing, but we came up with the following mission: to act as stewards of our planet, to protect, preserve, and mend our environment for the best quality of life for all people. So that really translates to a vision of a prosperous community in harmony with nature. And the Village of Milford earlier this year, we're in 2020, early last year, did a survey just to learn more when they're pulling together their Parks and Rec plan. And so they asked residents what were the main contributors to relocating to this area. And 61.4% had mentioned it was the green spaces and parks that were a major contributor in moving to this area. So that's something that I know that's why our family moved here, and we really want to make sure that we're keeping those trails and nature and green areas and protected and clean. So our strategy is really 3-pronged. So it's to generate awareness of these environmental issues, help educate the community on them, and then third and most important is create a path for action. So a lot of times when we're in this space, it can be kind of doom and gloom, and you've got 12 years and then it's over and have a nice day. And we want to say, okay, well, if we keep on the course, it's not going to look good, but here are some things that you can do starting today to really help us not reverse, but prevent it from getting worse than they're predicting. So in terms of priorities, as I mentioned, we're a small group at this point, but these are the 4 key areas, and I'm going to walk into these in much more detail on the next few slides. But waste reduction, business sustainability, events, and community relationships. So with waste reduction, it's really about helping our community use less. So everyone knows the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle, and they're there in priority order. So it's really about using less, reusing to have less waste, and then what's left over, to recycle from there. Right now, as you're all familiar with the issues we have with the recycling economy, it's about recycling education. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's one of our focuses. Also expanding recycling. So I'll go ahead and mention it now, but we had a meeting with the village manager for Milford, and we recently received the award, a bronze award from the Michigan Green Communities for the level of recycling. So we're about 40% in the village. Nationwide, it's about 35, and Michigan statewide is about 15. So a huge, great accomplishment. We're hoping that it's a good, clean 40%. But when we had talked with the Park and Rec plan, that was one of the things that we had said, well, this is a great rate and cooperation we see here. How about we try to expand recycling in some of the public areas and parks? So we're working with them on hopefully doing that soon. Encouraging green events in town. So we have third-party events that come in. We have our Thursday night concert and park series. So how can we introduce some recycling there to at least get some water bottles out, cans, things like that. And then compost education. I also wanted to mention on January 20th, we have our next community event, and we will be doing a styrofoam drive. So if you have any clean, dry styrofoam from any Christmas packaging, please bring it with you, and we will recycle it. Business sustainability. So we have a lot of cities around the state that are making commitments to clean energy, which is wonderful, but we also need to get into the private sector and really help kind of guide their sustainable practices. So we are working on creating, and this is again another area we'd be interested in support if this is interest of you, but looking to create a framework. So we're working with Brighton, who has created the Green Leaf Certification Program, kind of taking a little bit of that, but really trying to find a nice, simple model that would apply to all businesses, whether they're already very sustainably driven and installing rooftop solar, to those that are brand new to it, and we might need to talk to them a little bit more about money and savings by changing out items that energy savings, things like that. So if you're interested, let us know. And we'll work on that. So it's kind of a two-phase. One is completing the program, and then the second would be once it's ready, helping talk to businesses about becoming more sustainable. Events. So these are really great opportunities to bring people together to work on the awareness and education for different things, and then of course giving them some action items to walk away with. So I'll talk more in a few moments, but we have our Changing Climate art show, very exciting. A lot of people in the community coming together to make that happen. This is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So we used to have in Milford a great Earth Day celebration every year. That's gone away a couple years, so want to look at starting to introduce something again. At our community meetings, there's been a lot of talk about learning more about the recycling industry. So we're working to set up a field trip to go check out a MRF if you haven't been to one. It's a great experience. Definitely opens your eyes and makes you think twice about putting stuff in the bin and making sure it's the right stuff. Trail cleanup, again, we've talked about that. We've had a lot of great green areas and just want to make sure that we're keeping them nice and clean. And then the bottom line is activities to get people outside, in nature, enjoying nature. Generally speaking, if you're out in it and enjoying it, you're going to just be a little bit more passionate and connected and much more apt to protect it. Community relations. So this is kind of a big catch-all. Like I said, we were trying to keep it to 4, so we just kept dumping things in this one. But bottom line is it's building relationships with many different local groups. So organizations like tonight, cross-promoting, working together with like-minded organizations, parks, state parks, the metro parks, just trying to see how we can work together towards a common goal and have that much more of an impact. Government, we have village, we have township, we have city within the Huron Valley area, So really building relationships with your local governments, attending hearings, meetings, just to kind of keep a pulse on what's going on in your particular neighborhood. But most importantly, seeing again how we can help support them. So you're starting to hear as cities around the state and country are having a sustainable position and a sustainability manager that they can focus, but most are not. And so it kind of goes to the wayside if you don't have someone to help support it and drive it forward. And that's where, again, we want to be able to help with that. Schools, as you all know, Huron Valley, we have this new school bond and want to try to work with schools to figure out as they're doing renovation and extra building expansions that everything is done as sustainably as possible. So giving them some guidance there. Media, it's really about spreading the word. So if you are a journalist, we're a journalist, have always had dreams of writing, would love someone to help with press releases and really building that relationship with media to help get word out about our group, get people interested, but then most importantly, celebrating the success that we're seeing. And the newsletters, social media content creation, as I mentioned, awareness, education are our two big pieces. So just finding creative and fun, engaging ways to help communicate that. All right, a little bit about our work. So we have a website that we've built out. And the goal is really for it to be a hub for the community and a resource, a place where you can come learn about some of these issues, and then again, inspiring action in different ways. We have a green living section. So this is about providing guidance to people in the community about how to live a sustainable life. And for those of you that have tried eco-friendly products, you go to the aisle in the grocery store and it's getting bigger, which is great, but you try one dish soap once and it doesn't really work, you kind of start getting turned off a little bit. So this is a list of a few of our favorite things. There's no paid endorsement. These are just things that our group has used, really feel that they work well, have a good footprint, and have started that list. Similarly, the less stuff, so you'll see a kind of a consistent theme of getting people to help reduce what they're using. More memories, less stuff. So this was a big thing during Christmas time, is rather than buying more packaged goods for people, what are things that you can do and experiences you can have that, again, get people outside in nature, but really focus on creating memories rather than things. Sustainable holiday. So this was a dreaming of a green Christmas, and just kind of pointed out some of the big statistics. We know waste significantly increases between Thanksgiving and New Year's, so just some guides for how you can help kind of reduce and manage yours. And then recycling education. So we have information for the RASOC, which is where the MRF, where our recycled materials go for this region. They sent out, I think it was in the spring last year, about a 13-page document. It was great, talking through what you can and cannot recycle. We have links to that, as well as the app, which I would recommend if you don't have that. You just type in whatever you're questioning, and it shoots out plastic fork, and it'll say trash. Or it will, of course, give compost or recycling options as well. The other thing we have, that's a little screenshot of the map. So this is a different, that's the curbside side of things. This talks through more non-traditional items. So things like plastic bags, it can go to Kroger. If you have old sheets, towels, that sort of thing, it can go to the Huron Valley Pet Supplies Plus, which then donates to the Huron Valley Animal Shelter. Social media education. So this is, again, a way we're trying to help get word out. So we share a big stat to help get people's attention. And then the next part is, all right, so now what can you do, or what do you need to know or be aware of on these particular things? Events and community relations. So our first event was 24 Hours of Reality. And we had Steve Kolk, a facilitator from the Climate Reality Project. So he came in, spoke with the group. It was a great presentation that kind of kicked us off. And the one thing I did want to talk to you about tonight is our changing climate. So this is the art show that I had mentioned earlier. So we're working with Sierra Club, Huron Valley Council for the Arts, Cub, a church in Brighton that will serve as a gallery for that area. And it's really, as you know, art can be a very powerful medium. And that's what we're looking is to really expand. We have a lot of people in our close environmental circles that care about the environment and climate change. And we really want to take art and have that be kind of the bridge to the broader community and mass people to really show this is real and show inspiring work to really help get them to jump to action. So it's a call for artists. We will have categories from kindergarten through adult. So if you are an artist or know an artist, let them know. If you have some inner creativity, please use this opportunity to let it out. The submissions are January 10th to February 10th. And then in terms of the showing, it will be April, I think it's the 3rd through the 22nd. And then the finalists from the 2 locations will go to Mount Brighton on April 25th, where we have the Earth Day challenge. And that's where the final artwork will be on exhibit. And then we will also do the awards. Just to talk quickly, I did touch on our meeting that we had with Christian, the village manager, and that went very well. He's very excited. He's a member of that Michigan Green Communities Board, so that's where we're looking at trying to, the sustainability certification that we were talking about, looking with the goal of making that a broader Michigan certification with a pilot in Huron Valley. I touched again briefly on the Parks and Rec master plan, which Spinal Column, if you guys saw it, was just finalized. Our group had attended that, and again, let them know we're here, and they had lots of capital talk in there in terms of expanding trash cans, and that's where we had talked about the 2-part of recycling education, along with maybe extending some recycling bins in some of the park areas, and they, again, were very receptive and hopeful of our support with executing that. Indivisible Huron Valley framing workshops. So we've done a couple of those with you guys. I know I see many similar familiar faces. So talking about climate change can be a little scary at times. And how do you approach it? Who do you approach? So we've done some workshops to really talk through that have been great. And then the metro parks. Talk to them a little bit about our group, and again, looking for those partnerships and synergies and how we can help each other get word out. And they have a wonderful sustainability plan, so that's great to see. So, in terms of taking action, we would love for you to get involved, and I know it's easy to get pulled in a lot of directions, and people are like, oh, one more thing, but we promise we'll work with whatever you have. So if that's 1 hour a day, wonderful. If it's 1 hour a year, great. So whatever is your focus, whether you saw it in this list or not, let us know, and we'd be happy to work with you. You can either come see one of us after the meeting, or if you go to our website, ecohv.org, there's a black and white button, Connect with Us, that you can click on and leave your information, or it'll get your information to us, and then you can also there specify the areas of interest for you. We also have a couple ways for you to stay up to date with us. So Facebook and Instagram at ecohv is our handle, and then, as I mentioned, ecohv.org is the website. And this one is just a quick, I wanted you to see, this is a really kind of one-pager snapshot of what I've walked through, and this is on our website. So when you have a little more time, if you want to take a look, please check that out. As I mentioned, Monday, January 20th at Milford Library, 6:30 p.m. is our next community meeting. Please bring your tips for sustainable living and styrofoam for recycling, and we'll take care of that for you. And what we're going to talk about there is we'll have a brief speaker that will help talk about how you can reduce your food waste. We had in our December meeting, a great discussion about just people talking about different sustainability tips or places and things like that. So we're going to have a discussion about that with the goal of making, similar to the recycling map, a sustainable living map that might include farmers markets, if you have any stores that buy or sell certain things in bulk, just listing all of that out. Makes it a lot easier. I know there's a lot of people have a lot of great secrets, and we just really want to share that to make it easier for everyone. 50th anniversary of the Earth Day. We're going to talk a little bit there about what we want to try to do in Milford, and then again touch on the business sustainability piece and see how we can pull a team together to get that wrapped up. So very quickly, 5 tips for a sustainable new year. We talk a lot and hear a lot about ocean, plastic ocean, and the great garbage patch. We need to remind ourselves we've got our Great Lakes in our backyard, and 22 million pounds of plastic debris enter our Great Lakes every year, and that's the equivalent of 100 dump trucks of plastic in our Great Lakes every year. So what you can do, use less. When you start looking around your day-to-day in your life, you'll notice most of what you're using and throwing away is plastic. So bring your own reusable water bottle, shopping bags, silverware, straws, napkins. I know it's not plastic, but it's one people forget, but easy to take with you, and container for leftovers. And so not only will you have lessened your impact, but it's amazing how visible that is and how that starts to catch on when people see you doing that. 27,000 trees are wiped out each day to make toilet paper. 554,000 trees could be saved each year if each U.S. household used just one less roll of paper towels. So choose reusable and recycled products. If you go to our website, there's a TP pledge. If you haven't used recycled toilet paper, I promise it's a lot better than it sounds. Yeah, you can check out. We've got, we're all trying a bunch of different brands as well. So we'll check our website and we'll give you the full report on which one to give a try. In the U.S., food waste is estimated at between 30 to 40% of the food supply. There's no, none of us want or intend and go shopping with the hope of throwing stuff away. It just happens. But planning your meals, shopping from a grocery list is very helpful in reducing that. And then check out the last chance produce. So at Kroger, they have a baked goods and a produce section. I was very happy to see what happens after it gets the produce or the last chance section, and it looks like they're bringing stuff here. So wonderful and helpful in leaving that out of the landfill. If the entire U.S. did not eat meat or cheese for just one day a week, it would be the equivalent of taking 7.6 million cars off the road. Give Meatless Mondays a try. Don't need to jump into being a vegetarian or a vegan. Just take a look, and it can be any day of the week. Just is why we go with Meatless Mondays. But try one or the other. Maybe you're eliminating dairy to start. Maybe you try meat, and then see where it goes from there. Lastly, roughly 1 in 4 items placed in a recycling container is not actually recyclable through curbside programs. This creates enormous problems for the recycling economy, as we talked. So recycle right. As I mentioned, at ecohv.org, we have a lot of great materials. If you're not right in this area, just check with your local provider, and they'll walk through what is and is not recyclable. So here's my info. As mentioned, I'm excited to stay through the meeting, so if you have any questions after, please let me know. And again, we have our Facebook, Instagram, and website. So thank you very much.